Hello, everybody. How are you guys? I hope that you're well. Right. I have not been on since last week. I think it's last week. I'm actually losing track of time because the pressure is on with students doing exams, etc. I hope that you guys are all well. Basically, there are a number of things that is concerning me as an educator regarding the students. Before I get into that, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for the opportunity to empower the students I'm now teaching in the school. They all are not being empowered because not everybody's going to take it. But overall, that's what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in that school. Being in the school have given me a range of opportunity and experiences. um, with all schools, they got challenges, and all schools in this country, in the UK, have a number of behavior challenges. This school is no exception. Some might say it is a very challenging school. Others might say it is halfway. For me, I am not going to say that it's a very challenging school because I've been in schools that is far more challenging than this one is. Nevertheless, it is a challenging school because we have fights every day that have been reduced quite a bit. And we have the issue, the attitude of the children, but this is across the board. It's not only in the school, as I say. And one of the beautiful things of me going into various schools, it gives me the opportunity to see how different schools are run, to see how different schools are managed, to see how educators are navigating in the different schools, also to see how the children themselves are receptive to the educators, the teachers, etc. It also gives me the opportunity to see how different teachers are supporting the children and dealing with the children. So for me, that is fantastic. That's one of the pluses of me not being in one school permanently, going from school to school. It's tiring sometimes, but it's also fantastic. It is such a beautiful experience because it makes me realize how in some schools things are taken for granted and in others it's very, very challenging. Because I've worked in two private schools and I have also worked in selective schools and schools that are quite poor and schools that are inner city London with lots of behavior challenges. And it's interesting that how much the private school and the selective school take things for granted, whereas in other schools you realize that having a device, i.e. a laptop, is a luxury. So during COVID and post-COVID, because I've actually been doing supply for the last 2 years, and it's been fantastic. I have actually asked myself, do I want to get into a permanent position? I have been offered, but I've actually said no, and I'm reflecting and deciding that maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I really want to deal with the politics in those schools because all schools have their internal politics and some staff room could be quite toxic, and I'm not in for that. I go in, empower, impact, and then leave. I don't get involved in the politics. I don't get involved in the policy of the school. I do what I have to do because I'm there for the young people. Whereas when you're actually in a permanent school, yes, you're there for the young people, but politics and policies get entangled. And I feel that the schools sometimes forget what the major factor is that we all there. They're so into the politics of the establishment that they really forget the real purpose of being there. So that's one of the things I'm actually thinking about. Do I really want to be in a school permanently? I don't know. I'm still weighing it up and flicking it up and down because going from school to school is just a fantastic experience. You know, you were able to see how schools navigate and to see how they actually run as establishment, and you say what you have to say, you know, in terms of not fearing of what they have to do, whether or not, you know, your fear of being sacked, etc. Because I know there's a lot of people in some of the establishment I've worked in, they want to say something, but they're afraid of being sacked and all of that. I've never been one for that. I say what I have to say and I teach how I want to teach. I teach how I feel that is in the best interest of the students. And that's where I'm at. It may not be how the organization wants you to do it, but I'm looking at it as in the best interest of the young people. And there's sometimes something like in detention, I do not feel is in the best interest of the young people, because detention doesn't work. Given this long string of detention and having 100 and something children on detention, they become immune to it. So for them, it's not an issue. Oh, well, miss, you know, I was on detention yesterday, being on detention today is not a big deal. So therefore, you are not serving the purpose of the detention, which is meant to be a punishment. It's not a punishment. Because when students are saying to you, it doesn't make a difference to them, they've been on detention already, that shows you that, forget that. Anyway, so those are some of the things I'm grateful for. And those are some of the things I'm identifying. Whoa, some of the challenges that we are facing now as educators, demotivated students. We could see why they're demotivated, because a lot of them have not had exams. They don't know what exams look like or feel like, because they've had COVID. They've been, you know, due to COVID, they don't know what real pressure and exams are like. I'm not saying pressure is good, because pressure leads to stress, etc. But they don't know what exam is all about. So I also feel that they're not yet ready or equipped to go into these exams that they'll be going into in the next 19 days, as one student keep reminding me. That some exam, my A-level exam start in 19 days. My students that are doing GCSE starts in 13 days. So it's like all of this, and it's like students are doing countdown, etc. And I don't feel that they're yet ready to be going into the exams. However, we have no choice, because it is what it is. But one of the challenges that we are all facing in the education establishment is students who are not motivated. It doesn't matter how excited you're making your classes, there's a lot of students that are not motivated. I'm not too sure if they're not motivated because they're confused, or if they're anxious, or they don't know what to do. I don't know. I really don't know. And in the school I'm in, one of my anxiety or my stress right now is for my year 11 students, because I'm teaching psychology and sociology at A levels and GCSE and health and social care, etc. And the anxiety I'm having right now is for my year 11 students, because they're not ready yet. They, you know, at this stage, when I give them exam question, I'm expecting them to know how to answer the exam question, because I've delivered the lesson to them, they've had exam practice, etc. But the interesting thing about it is, or the sad thing about it is, they're not learning the contents. You know, I've given them the contents. I've given them fire off questions to them. I've given them exam questions on that. I've put PowerPoint on the board. I've given them worksheets. I've given them handout. We've discussed it. They demonstrate that they've understood it through my questioning and my mini assessment. However, when I give them an exam questions right now, like today, I've given them exam questions. A, they're taking extremely long to do it, and we've had mocks, etc. B, there seems to be still in a very playful mode. I understand they have to be playful, but it is excessive. And That just seems to be wasting time. Today, I've given them an exam question. I went over the topic. After I've done the topic, I say, okay, it's time to do the exam question. And it's like they're just messing around. They feel they're doing it for me, and I have to remind them, them actually doing this work is not for the teachers. The teachers already got the qualification. It's about them. That just seems to be in a, I don't know if I could say in a fantasy, in a daze, in a dream. I don't know. So I'm really concerned for the year 11 students. And when I actually went back to the staff room and talking to some of my colleagues, it seems to be across the board because we are quite concerned for all of the year 11s. Because as much as we are preparing them, they're not seems to be becoming ready. And we could prepare them as much as we can. But it is also up to them because we cannot open their brains and put the material in the brains. We could go over content, we could give them short questions, we could test them, we could do all of that. But it's still up to them as well to meet us halfway, and that is not happening. So it's quite concerning for us educators. And I've also spoken to some of my colleagues in other schools, and it's the same thing. We all seem to share in this anxiety for the year 11 students. And I do have a year 11 student in my house, and I'm having the same issue. And as a teacher, I feel that my child should do better, should know better, should navigate better, because I've given all the support I can. But I'm having the same thing I'm seeing in the school, I'm seeing in my environment with young people who I'm close to. I'm also my own child. I really don't know what's going on. And I feel the more we nag them, the more we go on at them, the worse. There is no point in going on, regarding it. It's like to reassure them and tell them it's okay, they'll be able to do it, all of that. This is what you need to do. Give them a timetable, support them with the timetable. But it just seems as if they're not yet ready. As if they're in a dream, as if they're in a daze, as if they have not yet, the light bulbs are not yet switched on. They're not awake yet. I don't know. And this is across the board for a lot of the year 11 students, the GCSE students, because some of the students, we're giving them detention. I'm not, because I just think it's a waste of time. Some of them are on reports because they have not been turning up to school. They've been turning up late. When they're turning up, they're not coming with pen and paper. They're not coming with the books. They're not coming with a folder. And the list goes on. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't know. As if they're not yet ready to take the exam. As if they're not too sure what to do. But I could say that we are supporting them. Because I'm talking about myself, how much I feel that I am supporting the year 11 students. And I also know my colleagues are, but yet still, they're not doing as much as they need to. Whereas with my year 13s, whoa, the light bulb have really switched on. They are on course. They are sending me essays. Right now, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 essays in my inbox. I need to, have a look at them, mark them for at least by tomorrow and the next day, because they are on it. They're on it. Yeah, 13 students are on it. These are the A-level groups. They're on it. I don't know if they feel that this is the last opportunity to make an impression and go for it, because this is the A-level. Next up is university. I don't know if that could be a factor where they know that it is crunch time. It's university time, because this time next year they would be in university. At the end of the year, they would be starting university in September. So I don't know if that's one of the reasons why year 13 group year 13 students are much more switched on, are much more on the ball, are much more, you know, under pressure, and I don't know. But they're telling you, the year 13 students, whoa, they're not giving you a break. They're on it, they're on it, they're on it. And it's a good thing because, you know, they're actually making you feel, yes, all your teaching is paying off now. It really is good because today, you know, my year 13, we had fire question. I gave them a list of different questions. Then I had one student deciding to take it on and, you know, do a mind map on the board and get the students to participate and give answers. It was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. They were on it. They were on point. They were, you know, relentless. They were just going on and, you know, asking me questions, and I was throwing questions at them. So the year 13 are beginning to be sorted. During the mocks time, I must say they were not together, they were not sorted as they are now. And I think probably the reason why they're on it is crunch time for them because they want to go to university, they want to do apprenticeship, whatever they want to do, they're on it. And me throwing out questions at them, they're actually getting it sorted. You know, giving them essays to do, I'm getting the essays back. You know, students actually taking the opportunity to do mind map on the board to become, you know, become the facilitator or the tutor or teacher, whatever you want to call them, and they were on it. Today was one of those fantastic days in terms of my win. This the year 13 students were on it. So that was my big win because, you know, they were throwing questions at me. I was throwing back questions at them. They were, you know, summarizing. They were going back to the mocks. The mock that, you know, some of them didn't do very well in the mock, but they're actually shining. They're actually, you know, going for it. As I said, I'm not too sure the reason why they're on it because they realize that crunch time is a make or break. I don't know. But my year 11s, they probably feel they have another opportunity, they have more opportunity. I don't know because they're doing GCSE. So which means that if they didn't get it, they could resit it. And I'm also saying to them, it's not the end of the world. I'm saying to all my students, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world because I don't want you to, you know, as a result of taking it on so much, you know, you have high mental health issue, you know. So that's one of the things I'm saying to my students. Having said so, I had two students say to me, Miss, I just cannot cope anymore. So that was a discussion because the fact that they tell me they're not able to cope, you know, what's going on with the mental health, etc. I know those are crunch times, so I have to actually, you know, do a lighter timetable with those students and encourage them to take time out because they're beginning to feel overwhelmed. That's my year 13. I feel still are beginning to feel overwhelmed because they're telling me that, Miss, I want to give up. Miss, I had enough. Miss, I'm stressed. So those are the telltale signs that they're telling me. I'm observing, identifying, and I'm, you know, trying to do various things with them like meditation, listening to classical music, exercise. Tomorrow I'm going to introduce EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, to enable them to calm down. So I'm going to introduce that in my lesson tomorrow because I'm beginning to identify as much as some students are on it, these same students are suffering from anxiety because they've got 19 days before the exam. 19 days before sociology, I think they said before sociology A level. So that is actually causing some of them anxiety and stress. So as an educator, I'm able to identify that. So I need to do something about it. And the plus for me and for them is I'm into mental health, mental health for SEDA, and as a psychologist, I'm able to identify some of the triggers and identify some of the early signs. So for me, it's for me now to pull back and try to calm them down and also try to do equip them with various tools so that they could actually start becoming calm and relaxed and centered. So guys, that is where I'm at right now with my students. I am also feeling stressed. Sometimes I feel slightly overwhelmed because I realize that the student anxiety is also projecting onto us as educators. But one of the pluses, I know in terms of using my meditation and my EFT and my classical music, it makes me centered, so I'm okay with that. One of the things I'm going to say to parents, you need to start identifying, if you have not yet done that, identify some of the triggers and identify some of the the signs of overwhelming your children and the fact that they're becoming stressed and overwhelmed. If they get to the point they say to you, oh, I don't want to do any more of it today, let it be. There's no point in saying, putting the pressure on them, because you do not want them to crash. You do not want them to crash, because I'm seeing it so often where students are crashing and students are having meltdown. So that's something we need to try to support them so that they do not have too much of a meltdown. Because there's sometimes when some students have a meltdown, they are completely out of it. We need to identify some of the signs. So when they're saying to you that they had enough of revision, they don't want to revise anymore, let it be. It is not the end of the world. Just let them be. Tell them to go out for a walk. Tell them to play some music, to dance. It doesn't matter. That's not wasting time, guarantee that. Because you see, they might be spending 5 hours in that book. And guess what? They might only be taking in 10 minutes of that. So we need to enable them and empower them to revise smart instead of spending all this time revising and nothing is going in. It's better getting them to do short bolts of it, like every 20 minutes, then you take a walk. Every 20 minutes, you take a walk. Just get them to revise for 20 minutes at a time. Spending all this time sitting there and cramming, some students going to end up having meltdown. And parents, carers, guiders. Anyway, do not put pressure on these young people. They've had an awful experience of loneliness, isolation, where they could not connect with anybody. During COVID time, they were in the house, they were being taught online, and it wasn't making no sense to them. This whole experience they've had is overwhelming for these young people. Do not put pressure on them. If they get to the stage where they say they don't want to do any more revision, let it be. It doesn't matter. They're going to the exam. They do the best they can. There's opportunity for them to come back and resit. Do not put pressure on them. We do not want them to end up in mental institution, because it is so easy for them to end up suffering from mental illness. We do not want that. So parents, do not put pressure on your young people. If they don't want to do anymore, they've had enough, allow it. And even when they've done the A-levels and they say to you, sorry, that they want a year off, allow it. Allow it. You might find when they come back much more invigorated. You might find they come back full of energy. You might find that they come back ready to do it. Remember, do not leave your dream through your child. Let your child live their dream. Do not leave your career through your child. Do not feel that because you did not get it, your child have to get it. You do not want your child to end up suffering from mental health illness. Once a child is broken, it's become very difficult to mend that child again, to put that child back together as how that child was. I urge you, parents, do not force your child to do things that you didn't do. If your child said that they don't want to do it, they want to break, allow them to have a break. Mental health among young people is on the increase, and it is very easy for these young people to start suffering from mental health because they already have had issues of being on lockdown, and it was so stressful Because as you know, think of how you feel as an older person. Just think how they felt as young people, were not able to socialize with their friends, wasn't able to go out, etc. For some students, it was okay. For the majority of students, it was not okay. So people, I don't mean to preach. I'm seeing it firsthand where students are breaking down. You know, when students saying to me, Miss, I cannot cope anymore. All I'm saying to them, okay, time out. I'm so quick to tell my student time out. The minute a student say to me that, Miss, I cannot cope anymore, I don't want to do it, time out. Even for my year 11 students who I'm feeling quite anxious about because I feel they're not taking it serious, I also have to remind myself where they're coming from. They're coming from a year of confusion. They don't know what was happening. To now we're saying to them, it's time to settle down and start doing exams. It's a big thing. Some students would be able to get the grades they were hoping for in GCSE. Some may not get it because of where they are right now. We need to understand that they all have a backstory. The backstory is where they're coming from in terms of the COVID and the pandemic experience they've had, where they were not able to do any learning. Some of them did not understand the online teaching. For a few students, it was okay, but for some of them, it meant nothing. That, you know, when we came back in January, I felt that I had to teach over some of the topics that was taught during COVID time because they didn't learn anything. Because for them, it was COVID and this pandemic was something new to them. They didn't know how to navigate it. They didn't know what to do. They were confused just as we were. You know, so these are some of the challenges that the students I'm experiencing. As much as I'm concerned about my year 11s, I could also be quite empathetic and see where they're coming from because they're confused. They've never had to have exams. They don't know what to do. So as much as I'm giving them all the exam questions, etc., you know, the pen is not dropping. And all I'm saying to them, you know, just go onto Teams. I've got the work on Teams, revise. If you guys need me, I'm here for you. You know, send me exam questions. I'm sending you exam questions. We could only hope for the best for these young people because they've been through a lot. And they're still going through a lot because some of them are even suffering from mental health issues, where some of them are suffering from anxiety and some of them are suffering from stress, overwhelm, depression. It's a big thing, eh? When you're in the education system, you really do see it. And we know there's some young children in primary school suffering from anxiety, overwhelm, and stress. So I'm saying parents, guardians, that's why I was looking for guardians, which I couldn't remember earlier on. Parents, guardians, carers, do not put pressure on these young people and do not live your dream through your children. Anyway, guys, take care, stay blessed. Have a fantastic evening, morning, night where you are. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, as this whole week is one of my is like this school do A and B, and this is my full-on week. Teaching for 4 lessons and then have lunch duty. Some days I'm teaching for 5 lessons. You know, some weeks are stressful, and this week have been stressful because my students they're becoming really overwhelmed and stressed, and I'm afraid sometimes the stress project onto us as educators because sometimes you can't help it. You have the tools to relax yourself, but at the same time, you know, you feel it coming. So there's sometimes when you feel it coming, you just need to take time off. Just go for a walk, have a break. Anyway, guys, take care, stay blessed. Do not pressurize your young people. If they say they don't want to revise for one day, let it be. Because they've had some experience that none of us have had when we were in education. Take care, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. Bye-bye.